Hey, welcome to another episode of Heroes and Videos. Today I'll be reviewing Fantastic Four First Steps. I saw the movie. I can finally get back on the internets. Whenever a comic book movie comes out, I always try to stay off the internet to avoid getting spoiled. But now that I've seen it, I'm back. I'll be giving you my thoughts and reactions in this video. Please stick around to the end where I'll let you know why I think Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are still geniuses and why once again the whole internet world overthinks it, and more often than not we get it wrong. How was Fantastic Four First Steps? Well, of course it was fantastic. It was very retro. You've probably seen that in the trailers already. If you haven't seen the film, stop right now. Don't watch the rest of this video. Seriously. Don't watch. Maybe click over to one of my other videos on the channel here at Heroes and Videos, or check out some other great channels, Bronze and Modern Gods, Lunch Money Comics, and Comic Tropes. All fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, let's get right into it. Hey, if you are sticking around, please subscribe to the channel and click notifications so that you'll be notified when new Heroes and Videos content drops. Spoilers are ahead in, you guessed it, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. The film had an interesting Mad Men 1960s vibe to it. I love the opening with the Ed Sullivan Show taking us through an introduction to our heroes. Lots of Easter eggs for a number of Fantastic Four stories. The recreation of FF number 1, the Mole Man, the Red Ghost and his Super Apes are mentioned. I'm assuming that's what John Malkovich shot from the promotional material. I'm assuming that's who he was. I did love how they leaned into the craziness of it all in terms of the Fantastic Four in this world. Let's talk right away about Silver Surfer. Now, Norrin Radd is one of my favorite comic book characters of all time, probably in my top 3. As a kid, I collected that original series because I loved the character, and let's face it, those Stan Lee stories with John Buscema art were phenomenal. Seriously, those first 6 or 7 issues are nothing short of literature. Coincidentally, I may have a couple of those lying around here over my shoulder, and this one, which is probably one of the better, honestly, one of the best covers in all of comics, Silver Surfer number 4 there. Just iconic cover, as well as the ones you see here over my shoulder. It also didn't hurt as a kid in the 70s and 80s. It was a short run. The series only ran 18 issues, so it was an attainable number, and I ended up, it was one of the first collections I remember, first series runs I remember actually collecting all of, so that was cool. In the film, I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the gender swap. I never mind those, particularly if the story's done well. In this case, it did serve the story very well. While in the source material and the comics, the Surfer rediscovers his humanity by connecting with Ben Grimm's blind girlfriend, Alicia Masters. Having Johnny in this movie be the human connection in the film to the Surfer, that just worked much better with the Surfer being a woman. So I totally get why they did that. Also, have to say, the surfing scenes were on point. Let's give it a hang 10 out of 10, right? Also, love the agency that Johnny had in this film, and the fact that all 4 of the team were scientists. This makes much more sense than the team's comic book origins, with one genius, a great pilot, and then the Storm siblings along for the ride only because of their relationship with Reed, his girlfriend, and then her little brother. That has never made a lot of sense in the books. I mean, it worked, initially, but the more you pick it apart, it just didn't make sense. Never mind, in the comic, they actually steal the spaceship, I think, in the first place. In the film, every one of the 4 contributed to the film. It was clicking on all 4s, let's say. Probably not the last pun I'm going to use in this video. Pedro Pascal was the biggest name attached to the film, and he does a phenomenal job, not overdoing Reed's genius or disconnectedness, but really just showing just enough of those Reed traits. But they all of them shine in this movie. Vanessa Kirby is easily the best Sue Richards we have seen on film, and she seems to carry large portions of the movie. She's really the heart of the film, at least for me. Johnny also is surprisingly good here. Most iterations of this team in comics and in the movie seem to have trouble knowing what to do with him. Not here. He saves the day more than once. I thought the flame effect was well done as well, particularly in a few scenes where he was the only light source. That was really cool. And what more can be said about Ben Grimm? The heart, the humor. I really like that they didn't lean too much into this monster concept or any sort of resentment over his transformation. There was one scene with Reed where he says something along the lines of, it wasn't your fault. He may have gone through that sort of resentment, the monster thing. He may have gone through that at some point, but he seems to have worked through it and moved past it, which I thought was a great choice. Let's talk about Galactus and his ship. I mean, phenomenal look. This is the giant purple planet eater that fans have been clamoring for after the Rise of the Silver Surfer, which was a film that I loved. But a lot of folks had trouble with that Galactus cloud, and this is light years better than that. How about Galactus's offer of handing over Sue's unborn child to save the Earth? I mean, that was chilling. It reminded me of that line from Lost where one of the others says, "We're going to need you to hand over the boy." Like, what? Had that same reaction, like, excuse me? I know you didn't say what I think you just said. Also, I loved Reed's candor when they returned to Earth and he was speaking to the media, and the way and the look that he gave Johnny and Ben before he came clean, and answering to let the world know about Galactus's offer that he made them, and about that offer. I mean, what an impossible choice, the life of their child for the planet. I mean, wow, I was not expecting that. I hadn't seen that in the trailers, and humanity's reaction. I mean, man, people can suck. It's similar to one of the conflicts in the recent Superman film, but yeah, it's brutal when people turn on their heroes. I did love how Sue diffused that, and honestly, I was surprised in the moment that they did diffuse it. I thought that was going to carry through maybe for the rest of the film, and she did this. She diffused this by introducing the world to Franklin as her newborn son. That was handled really well. Here's a lesson with how to deal with opposing points of view or positions. Humanize your position. You're welcome. Please, everyone take that and run with it, myself included. We will all be better off. I just thought that was a great speech that she gave. Here's my son Franklin, and people, turned on that. I love that. Earlier I mentioned the Surfer being one of my top 3 favorite characters. Well, Ben Grimm the Thing makes that list as well. The amount of Spider-Man stuff you see behind me probably clues you in onto what my most favorite character is, but Surfer and Thing definitely come in at 2 and 3. Between the technology catching up with an accurate on-screen Thing and the brilliant casting of Cousin Richie, I mean Eben Moss-Bacharach, this Thing rocks. Yeah, yes, I went there. Not a fan of the beard, however, and it's also an interesting choice not to have blind Alicia Masters as his love interest, although it did make for a nice way to introduce Judaism and that facet of the Thing's character. I thought that was nice. Alicia Masters might be out there. The Puppet Master is mentioned more than once, I think, in this movie. Speaking of villains in the movie, the Mole Man. I can think of at least 5, maybe 10 FF villains that I would rather see. However, it worked here, and it served the story, with Subterranea being very useful here in the plot. And also the scene where he's at the Future Foundation, it was just hilarious. The pride, of him and Reed, and him gesturing to Reed. I want him to ask me. I just thought that was hilarious. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I should know who that actor is, but he did really well with a fairly small part in this film. Speaking of Reed, somebody's finally figured out that comic accurate Reed's powers do not work in live action. I'm speaking of previous films, not this one. I don't know if it's an uncanny valley thing or what, but it's never looked right when he stretches too much. Some characters just don't translate well to the screen. Cyclops is another one of my favorite X-Men characters of all time, but without being able to see the eyes, it's difficult to emote. James Marsters is a great actor, but it's very hard to get Cyclops right when you can't see the eyes. That's a tough thing. Back to Reed and the stretching in this movie, they did use just the right amount of stretch, which I guess we can technically call stretch Armstrong limits. If any of you folks grew up in the 70s and 80s with toys, they seem to adhere to the stretch Armstrong limits in terms of how much Reed could stretch. In the comics, he can do all sorts of amazing and fantastic things. I'm glad they didn't go with that here. It was just the right amount of pliability. Hey, how about Marvel with the movie with the, hey, save the innocent bystanders, right? Or at least get them out of the way. Marvel has always done this well, and now DC's doing it. Thank you, James Gunn. It happened twice this month. So in recent comic book films, we're 2 for 2 in having a citywide evacuation scene. It's such a small thing. I mean, I get it. I'm sure it's an enormous undertaking to film it. But it takes a relatively small amount of screen time, a minute or two, maybe 3, yet it allows for us to focus on the battle and not the casualties. You still get the same concern for the citizens simply by showing the ground quake in Subterranea, while Galactus is tromping around upstairs. Get to see all that property damage, but you don't have to worry about innocent lives. So I thought that was a great touch. Typical movie trope here in that final battle of he almost fell for the trap, but that's such a convention of storytelling that I kind of give it a pass here. During that fight scene, when Galactus is stretching Reed to those stretch Armstrong limits, and Johnny's flying Ben at Galactus as the thing utters that famous catchphrase, and no, I'm not going to say it. But I caught myself cheering out loud at that scene, and then Sue, same scene, Sue with that powerful force field pushing Galactus back. I mean, that was awesome. And of course, as soon as Reed said, "Sue, you're overdoing it," or "That's too much," or something like that, you knew she was going to be in for trouble. And then similar to that, they got me twice at the end. I was sure Sue and Johnny at different moments there in that battle were done for. Each time I thought, no way, they're not going there. They're not going to do that. And each time I thought, well, maybe they are doing that. I mean, who knows? And we usually often get a death, in a lot of these films. And so I was thinking, no, it can't be. But they got me both times, right up to the edge of that. And the Terminator Friday the 13th jump scare at the end made my wife shriek and almost jump out of her seat. Well played, First Steps team. Now, on to why Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are geniuses, and while I will continue to believe that they know what they're doing. There's been a lot of rampant speculation about this movie and where it would land in relation to the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or 616. The general consensus was that the Fantastic Four would fail at saving their universe from Galactus and have to escape into the 616 universe. And as cool as it would be to have the Fantastic Four in the MCU, and that seems like it will happen, hey, unrelated, but if you haven't seen Thunderbolts, go see it in the theaters or digital or buy the Blu-ray when it comes out. It would, as cool as it would be to mesh them with the MCU, it would be a hard sell for Marvel's first family to arrive in the MCU having failed their universe. That's a hard thing for characters to overcome. And honestly, it was one of those things over the past year with all this speculation. I thought, man, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to bring them in as failed heroes, if you will. So let's look at Occam's razor, right? The simplest solution would be for them to simply be operating in a separate universe. I mean, that's already been established with X-Men films, the Marvel's post-credit scene, Deadpool and Wolverine honoring the Fox films, Blade, Elektra, etc. Marvel does appear to be using Secret Wars to bring all these different universes together. So why rush it, especially if that would mean bringing in the FF with that failing their universe baggage. Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios knows what they're doing, even though most of us don't. But I'm here for it, right? Hey, thanks for sticking around. Please like button if you enjoyed the show. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about the film. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing here? Go get tickets. Go see Fantastic Four First Steps. That is it for this episode of Heroes and Videos. Until next time, keep reading comics, keep going to movies, and be kind to each other.